Good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Time to talk about one of my favorite subjects, the Baltic Dry Index. Now, for those of you who are longtime listeners, you'll know Silverlight is particularly fascinated by this. Because, in my opinion, after over 2 decades in logistics, if you don't know what the Baltic Dry Index is, you're selling yourself short. The Baltic Dry Index is what it costs to buy, purchase, rent, lease, whatever it is, a container to pick up goods from one place to go to another. So this is just strictly the price of the can you're going to ship the freight in. When it goes up, there's more work, there's more money in the economy, and people are willing to spend more. When it goes down, well, the opposite happens. So this is why you want to look at it, because this is what shows you what people are ordering: raw, unprocessed goods. That's things like bars of steel, wood, anything like that that goes into the building blocks that make whatever you want to come out. Now, we've had an interesting situation. The retail season, they had a 0.2% increase over what was anticipated for the Christmas season. Now, Christmas season was looking pretty grim, and that, again, based off the Baltic Dry. But I was optimistic because from the Baltic Dry, okay, what you see today on the Baltic Dry manifests in about 6 months as a general rule. This is not 100% perfect, because this is all the suppliers and everything negotiating their contracts and making sure, okay, in 2 months our factory is going to have an order of stuffed animals coming in. So we're going to need this much fabric, this much whatever it is, whatever you might need to make one of them. And that's ultimately what goes on these containers. Like I said, I was optimistic because last time I looked was basically predicting March, and things were going up. And you know what? They were going up until the new year. They've dropped substantially. They went from a high of about, let's see here, $2,500 per container, and now they're back down to 2,000. Now, that's not a big drop for most people, because what we were looking at back in September, which is when I was looking, they were $1,000 per container. But the problem is, when you're not ordering raw products, that shows that you are not making new products. So the shirts in your closet, whatever toys you may have, computers, people suddenly drop the amount of raw materials they required by half. Again, this is about 6 months out, so you're looking at June-ish before this happens. March to June looks very positive. And June, there's a decrease there. Organizations in industry do not work on a day-to-day basis. They're planning months in advance. Think about it. If you have a factory for making cars, actually cars are a bad example because they overproduce the hell out of those, and that's an entire show on its own. You're making top hats. Phones are another really weird thing. Let's go with phones for now. You don't want to overproduce a phone. You want there to be enough for people to buy, but at the same token, you want to keep producing it until people are no longer interested in buying it anymore, and then you want to cut your losses. So this downturn that I'm seeing coming between March and July is showing that somebody has lost a big contract. Well, several somebodies, to tell the truth. And it's weird that would come because we've just come off a pretty big down year. Like I said, Baltic Dry is all the raw goods going out to places, and it's finished goods coming back. Oh, and by containers, I mean like actual freight containers, like your Hamburg Sud, your Maersk, those big things you see getting offloaded on ships and putting onto trucks, and not just ones with your local trucking company on the side. No Bill Smith Jr. or whatever you might have on the side of it. These are the actual big units that go into the seaport containers and rip their stuff off and go to either drop it to the train where it's moved again. The train is a big source of these, so go look at your average non-passenger train. It's probably loaded and even double stacked sometime, just because the railway's got to make money too. But like any lease, how long you have that particular container for, the longer you keep it, the longer that you pay. There are some people who build those tiny homes entirely out of these containers, although my experience with them is a lot of them are not in good condition. What is considered a food grade container would be barely passable for you to put your lunch in. That's no offense to them, but these things are going across oceans. These things are going across whole countries and continents. So they are a pretty rare commodity. Now, during 2020, the shipping industry did something so that even though we're seeing this increase in the price of containers, it's artificially high. Remember in 2020 when stuff just wasn't moving because everybody was shut down and nothing was going on? Well, they took that opportunity to retire some of their smaller, older ships. They got rid of some of their smaller, older containers. And that if there's fewer of them to rent, that means there's a higher price for everything that you rent. So in 2021 and 2022, when the economy kicked back in, the containers artificially were higher than they were before. This is the one thing I don't see reflected in the Baltic Dry Index. It's something you have to know to be able to understand. And it's also an interesting forecast. Remember, in 2030 to 2050, we're supposed to be removing all fossil fueled vehicles off the roads. And while they are moving towards electric trucks, it's not at a perceptible rate. For the brokers and the independent operators, they're not interested in buying those things. They want a Freightliner, they want a Volvo, they want a Western Star, they want something like that. They don't want this battery-powered abomination. They want to be able to take it to their mechanic. The mechanic says, oh yeah, I can have that part for you for $200, labor for $100, and then they're back on the road making money again. And ships, nobody's building electric ships aside from the US Navy. And I'm not sure I want civilian contractors developing electronic ships because we have enough accidents in nuclear reactors with government control and strict security. And we all know there's plenty of companies that love to skip steps. So nuclear is an option, but not yet. And you don't get Elon Musk or anybody coming along, we've just built an electric ship. It's not happening. And 2050 is not as far away as you might think it is. Hopefully, me and everybody listening to this broadcast will be around. But the phase-in time is between 2030 and 2050. That, to me, is a source of the market that needs to be developed. But I'm not seeing a spike in production to get these vessels taken off the waves. So I humbly suggest that the World Treaty that was put in place that has all these environmental regulations in it is not worth the paper that it's written on, sadly. Those are the two things I see by looking at the Baltic Dry. So in March, No, perhaps we better put it this way. Best time to buy your TV or whatever it might be is going to be in February because the retails did okay. But around February, the salespeople will start being hungry for their quotas and for their commissions and all that sort of stuff. So big ticket items, cars, TVs, stuff like that. You'll probably be able to negotiate a better deal than you will in March when they start seeing, hey, new stuff's coming in. But again, in June, July, there's going to be another drop. And it's always hard to predict jobs with this information. I can only predict what is being done, what is being planned. And when you have a workforce, you can't randomly lay them off and bring them back, despite what the big three automakers may tell you. This is a prediction based entirely off the Baltic Dry Index, in my opinion. I would not recommend buying stocks off this because the stocks in the Baltic Dry operate off different, wildly different um, parameters. This is just a way to look forward and see a little bit into the future, which is something everybody likes. This year is not going to be particularly disastrous, I don't think. I remember the Baltic Dry in 2020, and it was a cliff face. Now at least there's some plateaus, some are up, some are down. We do look better than 2023 at the present time, but right now we're on a down slope. So maybe I'll report on that another day. With that, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. Don't forget to click the icon, the bell icon, so that way you're informed every time we put out a new episode. And we hope you have a fantastic day.